Good evening. Thank you very much for watching our briefing in English. We'll be speaking today with Peter Dakutros from his home in Gozo. Peter, thank you for welcoming us here to your lovely home in Gozo.
My pleasure. We are old friends. I'm old. But we've been knowing each other for
We're
so
old
long.
family friends, family friends.
And your dad was such a wonderful guy, so young at heart, so full of life, everything he was. And then he introduced me to you, so
Yes,
old
it
family
goes on,
friends.
It goes on.
Exactly.
How do you come to Gozo in the summer?
First of all, I've known Gozo and Gozotans all my life because as a child, in fact, when I was born, Mummy and Daddy had this Gozotan lady at that time. She looked old. She must have been 24, 25, if not more, who worked for Mummy with cooking, household, etc., etc. She was a certain Juza Vuticic from Ala. So the accent, because the Gozotan accent, the ways, the maybe abruptness of Gozo and Gozotans grew up with me.
So you've been coming here all your life?
I was brought here as a baby. I was brought here as a child. During my youth, I came here for all the mad weekends, like all the younger generation do. And then my family had a place here in Takerchem, and I practically had my room. It was a huge farmhouse, and I enjoyed it and all that. So then I said, I want my place. Mostly because now I am a Slima, old man, not boy. But Slima became too much. I was feeling suffocated, in more ways than one, because the Slima I knew, it disappeared, as I said, in more ways than one. The construction, the people, it was like one huge family which all of a sudden got very mixed. So I'm not really a fan of summer. And also in my childhood and youth, we had a house in St. Paul's Bay, in Talazzelin. It was the best part overlooking the sea. We just had a road, a pavement, and we played outside. So I always was used to villeggiatura, we say in Maltese. And my mother, I became like my mother and father. As soon as mid-June arrived and it started to get warm, off to St. Paul's Bay. And now I do the same. When June arrives, I want to go to Gozo for a change of ambiance. I can't say Gozo is a cooler, as in temperature. It's not much cooler, if cooler. I find in Gozo they have extremes of weather. When it gets hot, it gets hotter than Malta. And when it gets cold, it gets colder than Malta.
I have to say, this courtyard.
We are up here in Shara.
But it's very cool. It's very cool.
Yes, because the temperature has gone down as well. Gozo is still wonderful. Less wonderful, maybe, okay. But Gozo is changing as well, unfortunately. So now we are learning how to adapt ourselves to this. For example, if I'm coming from Malta or going back, I have to think of the times. So I won't leave here at about 4, 5, because at Melliha there's going to be the traffic and so on and so forth. You don't go to Malta on a Monday morning, because many Maltese who own properties here leave on a Monday morning. There are all these little gags, which you get used to them.
You're mentioning Maltese having properties here. Do you think it's something that's become fashionable? Because
it's losing the fashion, actually.
Right.
Yes, unfortunately. And I say, unfortunately, for for the Gozo economy, that's a very sore point too. And for myself, because I had so many friends, especially those who come during weekends, and we go down to Marshall phone, you know, everybody, hello, and there was a big social life, which this year, I mean, I was shocked. Nothing of the sort. Very few people I know, because people are going to Sicily, unfortunately.
Right.
And a lot of these friends who I had in Gozo, who had lovely places here, you know, and still have them, they bought other places in Sicily and are going there because it's larger, because it's quieter, and they say Gozo is ruined, and I tend to agree with that as well, because Gozo became noisier.
We were all talking about the quality of life and the impact, and that construction, cranes, noise, garbage has had on our quality of life. How would you compare Malta with Gozo?
Mela, as a 72-year-old who unfortunately in the circumstances I am a perfectionist. I don't like chaos, I don't like dirt. You mentioned garbage bags, you mentioned noise, pollution. It irritates me, and I'm not at all happy with the state of the country now. Talking about construction, if you look outside, there's a Booch opposite, and all the lovely hills of Gozo, all with cranes. About once or twice a week, my road here is closed. No notice about it. I get out of the garage, I drive up the road, closed, and the warden sends me the other end of the village. Trucks, cars, it all makes me so nervous and so angry. And I admit, and people who follow me on Facebook have remarked that I have a certain anger in me.
Yes, I can see that. I've seen that.
I am very angry.
Yes.
I am angry because all this shouldn't have happened this way. Okay, progress. If people want to come to Gozo, they want to buy a property maybe, but things are not done well. They close a road, no notice. No electricity. I'm not mentioning the spate we had now of cuts. They are connecting somebody, a block of apartments, off goes your electricity. I mean, I've got a friend, he works on internet. He cannot have the electricity cut just like that, just because Joey over there has connected his. So at least advise us.
Residents are not advised.
Residents are not advised, and if they close the road, the garbage isn't collected, allura, but they're building, etc., etc. And unfortunately, I live in Slema, and you know Slema, we complain, and people say, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you can't complain, because if you complain, you are doing us wrong. You have to shut up. And I don't accept the kind of shut up. So that's part of the anger. And I love my country. I am half Greek, okay? And that's why a lot of people say, oh, you're Greece, you're beautiful Greece, etc., etc., because they have all the small islands, the size of Gozo.
Yes.
And my grandfather came from Santorini, which is an island exactly the size of Gozo. The shape is different. And I know how they treat Santorini. First of all construction is from November till April, even painting the facade of a house, because you have to go there and find it pretty, and find it quiet, and find it clean, and no noises.
So there's more planning, what you're saying.
There's planning and rules.
Rules and the
And rules
infrastructure.
is not buying people out to do your own thing. Or, for example, you won't complain, because that contract, you know, and all that fear. No, rules are there. You know, Greece went through a huge recession.
Absolutely, yes.
Huge. And I was there at the end of it. And I know exactly, for the same reasons that that are happening in Malta. Construction over this, over that, pass from here, pass from there. And they went totally bankrupt. In fact, the European Union wanted to throw them out. And it was Angela Merkel who said, let's do something and help them. So I did not go to Greece for about 4 years. I mean, there were burnt out shops, the people, there was poverty. Then I went after about 4 or 5 years and I saw the big change.
Yes, yes.
And now it's booming, booming. But why? First of all, they had a changing government who did not grab and under the table anymore. Okay? And who wants to listen, listens. And besides that, they had what to show. Because Greece, like Malta, but not anymore Malta now, because we don't depend on tourism now anymore. We depend on overpopulation. That damned overpopulation, which is killing me and you, because we know much better.
I mean, I'm coming back before we go into the population. You're talking about a more equal distribution of wealth. That's what you're talking about.
Yes. And more distribution of manners and education and culture. Because if you don't have a bit of culture, and then you do anything and you wreck up the country and you don't care anymore. And as I was saying, the Greeks had all their lovely islands, untouched some of them, all the lovely temples, antiquities, museums, views, way of life, the good food, the shops, the lovely things, clothes, jewelry, souvenirs. They had that still to offer. They had the beauty of the country with its antiquity. Now, what are we going to turn on to in Malta? What are we relying on? We've ruined the views. We've ruined our hospitality because we're all angry. And when you go on holiday, you want to meet the population and you don't want to meet and be served at table with people from other countries, the other side of the world, who can't even lay a plate on your table. As soon as you finish, they grab, you know.
What surprises me a lot is the five-star hotels.
How are they accepting this?
Because it's not about the people or the nationality, but the staff are obviously untrained that are coming from abroad. Yes.
Well, they say they can do nothing because otherwise they'll have no staff. But what can they do? Are they going to close down? It's their investment. So what happens? Quality, quality, quality. We have no more quality. Leah, there's no more quality in Malta. You know?
I mean, it's impacted our lives, really, hasn't it? But how is it going to change? Can we change it, in your opinion?
I just mentioned Greece. And the first thing they did when the people were fed up, and rightly so, because I was there when they were fed up and I could see why they were fed up. All right? The first thing they did is, well, I'm a straightforward person. The first thing they did is get rid of the government who got them into that S-H-I-T. You know what I mean? They got rid of it. Then there was that positivity to rebuild and to rebuild hope and to rebuild everything. They opened back the theaters, they opened back culture. We have lost our culture as such. What can we talk about? Food? You love food like I love food. Where is our food? You know? I always said nothing like a lovely timpana as should be, and arabalis, stuffed marrows and all the lovely Maltese. No, now you go and get menus from all over the world.
You're seeing less of the traditional food, really.
I'm seeing less of tradition.
And you're talking about food. One thing that surprises me, if you go into a kitchen that serves Maltese food, again, you have people from abroad cooking Maltese food, and when it's brought to you, it's really not Maltese food, is it?
Because you know jolly well that you have to live in the country, look around you, and the country itself inspires you. I mean, I use a lot of rosemary, because if you go and walk, even on the traffic islands, there's rosemary, thyme, which grows in our rocks. Basil in summer flourishes. Our tomatoes are wonderful. Our not anymore sheep and goats, because in Gozo we used to see them walk and they make the lovely cheeses. So they were talking tomatoes, cheeses, herbs, olive oil from our olive trees, and that inspires our food. And then there's Italy close by, the Mediterranean food. Now we've lost everything because you don't even feel you are in Malta here. A lot of so many foreigners of different cultures and color.
Even in Gozo?
Oh yes, especially in the food markets, supermarkets, shops, etc., etc., etc. You can't speak Maltese practically in the shops here.
How is that going?
And that is frustrating, you know.
It is. How is it going to impact the culture, the future of the next generation here?
It is going to greatly, because the next generation is not going to know what the real Malta is and the real Maltese and our ways. I mean, everybody used to say, there is a famous Italian saying, and I'll translate it. Roma Santa, Napoli Bella, Malta Piccola, Fior del Mondo. Rome, Holy Rome. Naples is beautiful, because we talk about Naples and the dintorni and the costiere. And Malta Piccola, Fior del Mondo. Small Malta, flower of the world. Can we call it flower of the world?
Today, no.
And since when? Because we were all so enthusiastic and we wanted to step up our culture, step up our view of Europe, of the world. And we wanted to be part of Europe because why? Because not really for the jobs, you know. We wanted the culture, that I can travel easily without restrictions, go and see Europe, the culture, the theatre, the concerts, the way of life, the food, because we wanted more. Now we don't care about that more culture, more beauty. Now we are here suffering what's lumped on us.
What's the impact on tourism? I mean, we're not offering quality anymore.
No,
really.
I say it's straightforward. There are lots of adverts about tourism. Now, we just need 1 million, 2 million, 2 million are nothing with all billions in the world, if you know what I mean. So the few, the riffraff, can all come here and they fill up our hotels, etc., etc. Have a burger. If somebody posted today, 2 tourists sharing a hamburger.
Yes, the spend is very low. The tourist spend is very low.
Tourists, we want the income, we want the money. I want to go to a restaurant and sit down, have a meal with lovely people around me, with good manners. We used to be welcome to our table. Is it okay? They know. There, sit, boom, the water. And the minute you finish and he finishes and we two are still eating, they come and grab the plates. Can't stand it, that.
There's no training.
No training, because we don't have a chance to train. And why train? Because we know that all these people who are coming here, maximum 2-3 years maximum, and then they go back somewhere else or back to their country. Or even the guys in gaming, I know, the guys in gaming, maximum 3 years, and then they leave. So, practically not worth training. Use them, they abuse our country and abuse us, and that's the way it's going. Use and abuse. And the population is not happy because the majority of the population deep down are not happy.
No, absolutely.
They are not.
A lot of people are complaining.
They are not. And unfortunately, another point, that the younger generation, by younger I say, from 20 downwards, know better. When I sit down with children, they'll be 20-year-old and we talk about our past, how we enjoyed ourselves, how we shared with the rest of the population. We shared, you know. I mean, I was in business. I had a factory with people, a winery and the soft drinks, and our workers were like family. My father was always the witness to the wedding of the children, etc., etc. My parents even came to Gozo because we had the employees from Gozo as well. That is how we lived. All this talk about socialism. Those who pushed socialism should come in now, because it's not socialist anymore. It is just
What do you call it if it's not socialist?
hullabaloo.
I mean, it's a really shame.
Make
isn't
believe
it?
it's socialism.
I mean, unfortunately, we're not looking after our workers either.
Neither, no.
After our Maltese
No,
workers.
because there could be, let's say it this way, because we say restaurants, you can't make yourself understood because they're all, for example, Indians. There could be people who want to work in catering because they love serving food, they love cooking, they love this, and they want to. But I'm not going to a restaurant where they're all Indians, so to speak. I'm not degrading anybody.
No,
and
no.
there is this language problem, culture
But it
problem.
reduces the workers' quality of their work life.
Yes, and it reduces the amount of local workers who want to do jobs they love. I mean, you have food as one of your love, and you were in the public eye like I was, and we did it for the love of it, because we wanted to do it, and we spent years doing it. And there are people who want to be a waiter, to bring your food. Is it okay, sir? Is it okay? Can I help you? Yes, I'll do it. That's how they want. Even Maltese chefs, but they cannot, because they are drowned with all these different nationalities.
We're seeing less of the proprietors also who are running the restaurants. A lot of proprietors buy a restaurant or invest in it and then employ
2-3
people
years
that are
and out. 2-3 years. We don't want that. I still remember the restaurants of my youth and up to 20 years ago, which we used to go to. And we still remember the food they serve, which is not served anymore, unfortunately. You know, this is the situation.
Peter, how do you think?
It can change.
And the economic model, how can it change? Can it change? Because I seem to have woken up after COVID, and the place is a different country completely after COVID.
Yes, because unfortunately, COVID rocked a lot of things, including that 2 years moratorio, they call it, which, you know, and then people wanted to go out, people wanted to go abroad to do this and to that. So anything was okay, and they grabbed what they could and did it. But unfortunately, how do we change it? First of all, we have to admit it, that this is not, a bit of a hard word, civilized situation, all right? They have to think of the future of Malta. Okay, they have to realize that the younger generation don't know better, and it shouldn't be like that. They should know better, okay? And they should do something about it. If not, I'm sorry, the whole thing has stepped, I don't know what to say.
Are we heading towards a
Into the
country
wall.
that's going to collapse?
Yes, of course we are. If you look around you, even the economy, for example, I'm very worried about Gozo, because in Malta, you want to buy a property or you want to build. Yes, you know, they go and get a loan. Or if you have a company, a bit of overdraft, you see what you're going to do. In Gozo, it's from father to son, from daughter to father-in-law, and, you know, they borrow money, etc., etc. So, if anything, unfortunately, God forbid, had to happen, these families are going to turn into each other and start feuds. So, like Greece. And I keep telling them.
You think we're heading there?
I'll tell you why. I'm convinced, because I had a very good friend of the family, and he used to come. He's a lawyer, actually, who graduated in America. I mean, he knows what he's saying. And he came to visit us, and I put him up in a hotel in Sleeman as I was driving. When we got to Testaferrata Street, and you arrive next to Xira Gardens, those, oh no, in Greek. He nearly saw. I don't know what happened. What happened? Look at that. He was looking at all those and the hype. He said, "You are heading for disaster." I said, "What? Oh, good news. You came over," because that is how the big recession in Greece started. Overbuilding. He said, and money laundering and this and that. I'm sorry, he said, but big disaster. Wait for it. This was 2 years ago.
What do you think our duty is as citizens of the
To
country?
speak up.
A lot of people are afraid to.
Yes, unfortunately, I'm not. And another thing, you support what is right. All right? You support what is right. Now, if I think that this government, this party is not, I speak up and I try and get to them and tell them. If then there is a part who I think of with a change could do a lot of good. But in Malta, unfortunately, it's a two-party system. Now that party got all this corruption, we're going into a disaster. But the other party, they're rather slow. The other party, they're rather silent. The other party, what do you mean? Because we need to protest. Right, okay, fine. I go to the protests, but I don't see, ironically, and I'm glad I'm saying this publicly on television, ironically, all those who scream that they want to go and protest because this is not the Malta they want, I go to the protests, all of them.
Yes.
I never see any of them.
Yes, yes.
You know, and it even makes me angrier. Because if I say I want to change the stable, I'll change it.
I'd like to get your opinion on something that I've heard. You know, I've spent a long time abroad. When we refer to switchers, it's seen as something very negative here in Malta. However,
The effect was negative.
the switchers, when it comes to voting in a general election, it's seen as something negative. It's seen that you're born, your parents come from a certain party and you should always vote for that. But I understood when I lived abroad that really you should be a switcher according to...
Exactly.
Because that's why we have elections. We have elections to choose what's
what is
right
best
at
and
that
what is
time.
best.
At that time.
At that time, of course. I agree with it. I agree with it
But
totally.
why is it seen so negatively? Because some people may want to be switchers and will be switchers, but they'd be ashamed to say it.
Because a small community, and I must admit that I won't say the majority, no, are so small-minded. Look, it is all mamin and zom with whom I side. If we don't even the parishes, there are parishes with two big festas, Il Madonna, San Giuseppe, Our Lady and St. Joseph, and they fight. Is St. Joseph the greater or the Madonna? It is all like that. So when it comes to the party system, this is it. And I'm proud to be it. And they can be beaten up. They can, I don't know what, they'll torture them, hang them upside down, but still they wave the same
It's
flag.
a bit like football, perhaps.
I was never keen on football, so I wouldn't know.
Okay.
You know what I mean? They are like that. They don't say, hey, no, my aim is for a better country, for the good of my
But
children.
that's the reason we have elections, really. That's the
Yes,
reason. Yes.
and it is true that, you know, sometimes you say you side with that party, you want that party, but sometimes it's good to give a lesson. Emma, when you see a disaster like this, because we are in a disaster, we're all, look, Leah, let's call a spade a spade. We're all talking about the same subject, the deterioration of Malta. That is what we are talking about, and the corruption, and you can't seek refuge now, is the word, not redress in the courts, because this one is bought out, she is bought out, he is. What do you mean all this buying out? From where is the money coming, allora? To buy people out. Because the word, you know, so it makes people angry that you can't see hope and light at the end of the tunnel. And the light, we have to go for it. We have to go for it by only keeping the light in front of us. This two-party system is not helping either, but then as we are in Malta, I think it will have to remain. Because whoever tried the third party was not successful.
It didn't work out. No.
It didn't work out. So we have to be careful. And I say it bluntly, it is time for a change, yes.
To close for today, what are your views about the upcoming European elections and the local council elections? Should they be important to people?
Of course they are. Of course they are. It's always here in Malta, the local councils reflected the political, background and thoughts of the people. The local councils have been made helpless to top it all because the government has taken a lot of their powers. For example, all this hoo-ha about garbage. Terrible situation, terrible. How do we expect tourists who have to hop, step and jump over garbage? How can we expect it?
Children walking on the pavements.
Now, most of the powers of the local council, especially when it comes to garbage collection, has been taken off the local councils. People, especially in Slima, took a long time for the Slimese to realize screaming about garbage and blaming the council. And the Slima mayor, who is a friend of mine, was literally going round himself trying to sort. He wasn't part of it. The chaos, all this mess is the fault of the government. Because if he left it to the local council in itself, local, they know the locals, they know the needs.
So you think they should have more autonomy?
I think the councils should have more autonomy than what they had previously, because they know their people. The people of Slima are not the people of Melliha, are not the people of Zurri, or the people of Rabat. It's like a family. You know the needs of your family, so that is the best kind of governance, when you know your people.
And what about the European elections, Peter?
The European elections are so important. I say it. Only Europe can save our culture, save our Malta. We need Europe. We have to vote for Europe. We have to vote to those candidates who have done so much work in Europe and who made us proud. There are people, candidates who made us very proud, okay? And I feel very hurt when they are insulted, all of them. And we should vote for those people. And there are other candidates who are up and coming, who are doing their best, and even out of respect, because they are doing it to try and pull us out of this mess. We have to vote. We really have to vote for those. And that will start a change. We have to show a change next spring when we go to vote for Europe and for the councillors as well. We have to start. And with Europe and the councils, there's no worry about party and no worry about colour, red or blue. You have to vote for those people who want and work for the good of our country.
Thank you very much, Peter.
My pleasure. And sorry if my tone was a little bit, but it came from the heart, Leah.
Thank you so much, as always.
And may I say thank you and a big prosit to you, because you have so many wonderful guests that I was really stressed. I said, me, after she had all those, I'm a little ant.
I think you're wonderful.
I did my best. Yes, because I did it from the heart.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching our briefing in English. I spoke today with Peter da Kutros from his home in Gozo. Should you have any comments, please send them by WhatsApp to the number that appears on the screen. I'm Leah Hogg for Net TV.